Meanwhile, in Russia, September 2023. This is Crazy News Friday update. And yes, I will tell you why Vladimir Putin received an undeserved salary increase this week and why I would fire him if he worked for me. And I'll tell you that at the end of the stream, of course. And yes, I will try to sing a little bit again. Not much, though. Howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin, and welcome to Inside Russia. Crazy news come out of Russia every single day. And the first crazy news of the week, no, it's actually a trend-setting news of the month. It comes from Russian propaganda finest, the TV channel called Rostov-on-Don, or Russia-1 in English. 2 days ago, on September 27th, Rostov-on-Don had a praising news report of the Russian city Kaliningrad. For the record, originally it wasn't the Russian city Kaliningrad, but German Königsberg. But there was an agreement. Königsberg would become a part of the USSR, the deal made at the end of World War II with Germany in 1945. So, Russia 1 was all about how Kaliningrad is so advanced. There's great economic development of the city, and the entire Kaliningrad province is doing fantastic. And they illustrated the story with the shots of a beautiful, obviously actively developed city.
Также большое внимание уделили развитию особой экономической зоны Калининграда, которая позволяет региону оставаться конкурентоспособным даже в условиях западных санкций. Алексей Головко, Юлия Брилева, София Петросян, Кирилл Маликов. Вести.
Do you know what's funny here? The shots were not of Kaliningrad, and not any other place in Russia at all. Instead of Kaliningrad, they showed a puppet state controlled by the satanic West, a terrible, hostile, and dying Poland, the city of Elbląg. Bravo, Russian propaganda, people. Very professional of you. Well, at least now the Russians know that what a beautiful country Poland is. Fantastic architecture, clean, developed. It's very different from what they usually tell us about Poland. Now, they showed us what Poland really is. You know, the real picture. It's everything that Russia wants to be, but is not. Or perhaps it wasn't a mistake. Perhaps that's how they work. You know, they make stories how Russian cities are great, of strong economic development, of happy life, and simultaneously they show the shots of Paris, London, Madrid, Miami, Melbourne. Most Russians haven't been far than outside their villages and towns, so they believe what they see on TV. You know, perhaps I should watch Russian TV and look closely for foreign cities in those news reports. Needless to say, that news video report has been erased from Russia 1 archive and from all Russian state control informational space. Thank goodness I have a copy. And we are moving on. The Russian authorities are preparing to introduce strict regulation on collecting pine nuts by Russian citizens. Such amendments have been proposed by a group of Russian senators. According to the bill, the regional authorities now will have the right to set places, seasons, and a reasonable norm for harvesting pine nuts by individuals, collecting them by picking up from the ground, really. That's what they call harvesting. The authors of the bill suggest that such a measure will minimize the illegal sales of nuts harvested, supposed for own needs. Oh, those Russians making millions harvesting the pine nuts to, pretending to their own needs, but treacherously selling them. Oh, we'll show them thieves. You know what I think? The senators that have proposed this bill, they need to sort out their own nuts in their heads, as their nuts and bolts seem to be out of order. Moving on. In my live stream of ruble crushing in early August, I forecasted that consumer prices will catch up and skyrocket in a matter of few weeks. They will catch up the falling ruble, ruble devaluing. And that's exactly what happened. According to Rostov, Russian government statistics agency. In the week from September 19th to the 25th, the consumer price index increased by 0.28% against 0.13% in the previous 2 weeks. And that's a 4-time increase in 1 week. In total, prices have increased by 0.6% since the beginning of September alone. The jump in weekly inflation is the highest since the beginning of December 2022, 75% of the weekly basket of goods. No wonder, the goods in an average weekly basket, that's what usual Russian people in Russia buy every week, is highly dependent on imports that are paid for in American dollars. It's not rocket science, You can actually predict prices going up. They follow the ruble to dollar exchange ratio. You know what it means? Russia will be approaching the state of North Korea. A lot of tanks and missiles and a shortage of everything else. Now it becomes much more clear why North Korean leader met Putin a couple weeks ago. He taught Putin how to quickly achieve that, and we are moving on. Interesting news are coming from Russia's bread-making company Gazprom, one of the world's largest natural gas producers and exporters. In the first half of 2023, Gazprom reduced gas production by 24.7%. Why? The company politically correctly explains due to politically motivated decisions of a number of importers to abandon gas importing from Russia. Well, let me tell you how it really is. Let me tell you bluntly. No one wants to support the war Russia is waging on Ukraine. No one wants to support Russian military-industrial complex that's fueled by the exports of Russian natural gas. No one wants to support Putin. Combined supplies of Gazprom gas to both domestic and foreign markets fell by 26.5% this year. My dear Russians, especially those who keep repeating that Russian economy has withstood all the pressure and doing great, you get ready because that's just the beginning. Those numbers, the decrease of Gazprom's exports, that's not good. That's the death of your economy in numbers. So get ready. Fasten your seatbelts because you are in for quite a ride. And we are moving on. Also, interesting news are coming out of Bulgaria. It will begin a gradual reduction in imports of Russian oil. Bulgarian lawmakers have just approved a proposal to limit Russian oil imports by 80% by the end of this year, with a complete rejection of Russia's oil imports by October next year. In 1 year exactly. No worries, my Russian fellows and friends, no worries as the plan is complete. Soon you'll have all your oil and guess to yourself, not much oil money to import any food, but no worries, there'll be plenty of clean air to eat. There you have it. Please forgive me for that. Venturing further into the abyss of singing. No, I will not quit my daytime job. Move on fast away from that embarrassment. Unusually honest news came from Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin this week. Moscow Mayor was complaining of the new Asian realities. Let me quote him. Russia has switched from European markets to the Asian, Eastern markets, but there's already a serious economic war going on there. The Asian markets are even tougher than European ones. Asian countries give preferences to their own manufacturers, and no one wants to give technologies to Russia. Moreover, they openly tell us, if you want to get some technologies, buy the whole product. We say, no, we just need a component, which we will replace with our own soon, and we're told in return, we understand this, we understand you need, but we're not going to do that. At least we're not going to do it at normal prices. Here's a double price. Take it or leave it. To say I was surprised by reading what Sobyanin said is to say nothing at all. So Russian rulers expected that by turning to China, and we all know who Sobyanin meant by saying Asian markets, cut the crap, it's China. Turning to China, Russia will get Chinese technologies and all the preferences from China? Hey, new Chinese friends, give us your know-hows so we can produce our own goods and products and buy less from you in the future and compete with you in the global markets. You know, friends, I've got to apologize. I am often overly critical, well, not often, but always overly critical of Russian politicians. But you see, I thought that they knew what they were doing. I thought that they just pretended, lied, they were double-faced, all of that. But deep down, they knew what's really going on. They understood the reality. But if they really think that China is going to hand them in the technologies and help them financially, economically, well, I'm sorry, Russian politicians. I'm taking everything I've said about you back. You are just dumb as a rock. And we are moving on. But this time, we aren't moving too far. Let me quote another top Russian official. Russia has shifted from a sick part of the global economy to a healthy one. It's now much more important to us that in the second quarter of 2023, the growth rate of China's economy accelerated to 6.5%, and the growth rate of India's economy accelerated to 7.8%. The US and German economies, on the contrary, are not important to us any longer. The structural reformation of Russian economy has been very painful, but it has allowed us to be more stable and solve all our problems. Looking at Chinese and Indian markets makes Russian economy more stable and solves all its problems? Really? And that's Putin's top aide speaking? Ha, boy, do I have news for you. You are looking at the wrong direction. Go listen to what Moscow Mayor Sobyanin just said hours before your speech. It proves once more that you are just dumb as a rock. By the way, if you're liking today's news update, please help me spread the message by making reposts in your social media accounts. Thank you. And we are moving on. St. Petersburg's shipyards of the United Shipbuilding Corporation, that belongs to Russian government, use machines that are 90 years old. I quote Andrei Kostin, the CEO of VTB Bank. That also belongs to Russian government. That's the nominal owner of the United Shipbuilding Corporation. Yesterday, I visited the 3 shipyards in St. Petersburg. The machines there are working, but not all machines are working. But fortunately, many are working because most were produced in 1932. Production place Germany, brought to Russia as reparations in 1945. Whew. You know, if I were Kostin, this big-time banker, public CEO, very public person, I'd keep my mouth shut. Because in 2023, having Russia's primary shipyards with the machinery that some of them is working, that was produced in Germany in 1932 is simply a shame. And Russian politicians claim that Russia is a superpower and a magnificence in itself. Well, build some machinery on your own, even primitive, build anything. Show us something. Then and only then you can say something like, oh, how good Russia is. Because now, Russia seems very pathetic, counterfeit, and 90 years outdated. Wait a second, I get it. Russia's been waiting for China to hand over its technologies. You know, it'll be waiting China for another 90 years, you know. Good luck. And we are moving on. Kazakhstan will comply with international sanctions against Russia, and there should be no concerns about circumventing the sanctions. You know, I just quoted Kazakhstan's president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. He was addressing Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany. Wait, what? Isn't Kazakhstan supposed to be Russia's closest ally? For all those past 18 months, we've been told by all kinds of Russian politicians that Kazakhstan will reach out to Russia and help to go around the sanctions. And now what? Betrayal again? Boy, oh boy. Actually, there's no betrayal by Kazakhstan. It never said that it would help Russia cheat the sanctions. It's just there are two realities. One is fake, painted by lying Russian politicians and propaganda, and another one is real reality, the real world we live in. The fake Russian reality will be maintained for as long as ordinary Russian folks will be buying it. Well, good luck to them. And we are moving on. You all have heard of Victoria's Secrets, right? The global brand of sexy female underwear. I personally have heard of it. Victoria's Secret has left Russia, just like most Western brands have. But it hasn't disappeared without a trace. It's a usual practice now that a Western company that leaves Russia, sells its assets to local business people who are usually connected to KGB. Why? Because most companies, make sweet deals. Exiting companies sell their assets to pennies for dollar. And it's time for Victoria's Secret to leave. So there's a Russian company buys off Victoria's Secret business in Russia and establishes a new brand. Its plan is to start relaunching Victoria's Secrets in Moscow, largest shopping mall, under a different name, a little different business model. What's so crazy about this news, you ask me? Nothing, except for the new brand name. Are you ready? You aren't gonna guess the new name in a million years. Blind chicken. Luxury shoes, accessories, perhaps women's underwear as well. The stores where Victoria's Secrets was located now will be called Blind Chicken. What an interesting choice of name, Blind Chicken. I'm just trying to guess who blind chickens are. Those who will be buying shoes, accessories, or perhaps women's underwear, or who will be looking at that. I think out of all crazy news, this is by far the craziest news there is. I think this is what we've been waiting for, I think this is Putin's secret weapon, a blind chicken. Whew. And we are moving on. This next news is actually serious. I am to blame for the fact that through my stupidity and misunderstanding, I read a prayer for peace. This was the quotation of Russian Eastern Orthodox priest from Tver province near Moscow, who was forced to publicly apologize to parishioners for praying for peace and writing an open letter against the war. I think it's all you need to know of current states of Russia Eastern Orthodox Church now. And me, I just have one question. Which God they pray to? Moving on. According to the Association of Independent Pharmacies, there's currently a shortage of pharmacists in Russia in the amount of 30% of the required number of specialists. It's news to them in Russia, but it's not really the news to us here in Tashkent Breakfast Club. All those pharmacists missing in Russia, they're here. Come to the Breakfast Club or to the breakfasts in the cities of Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, Georgia, and other countries hosting Russian exiles. Come here and you will find them. Those 30%, they're not missing. They're just run away. Molon Laba, come and get us. We're right here. If at this point you're asking yourself, how can I help out this channel? That's easy. The best way is to hit the like button, to buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, or become a patron on patreon.com. Either way would be fantastic and much appreciated. The links are down below, and thank you. And we are moving on. The good news for Russian automakers. Finally, something good. The automakers registering record profits this year. Wait, what? Russian automakers registering record profits? Did I make a mistake? I thought there weren't any Russian automakers. But it says right there in front of me, the automakers registering record profits. The Chinese automakers. 7 automakers from China earned record profit of 80 billion rubles in Russia. That's close to $1 billion, by the way. In 2022, the total revenue of the 7 major Chinese manufacturers in Russia increased by 91% to 346 billion rubles. Chinese automotive industry in the Russian market moved from the red in the last year to a total profit of 79 billion rubles. The Chinese are riding Russian wave, a magnificent turnaround. Mighty Russia is getting up from its knees, shaking off Western influence. Everything just like what Putin said. Well, just a little advice to the Russian parents. Start your children learning Chinese at school. In near future, Russia's new master, China, will be very pleased with those Russians speaking Chinese. And let's move on. Some statistics for you today. At least 29.5 billion rubles per day, every day, that's roughly 300 million US dollars, will be spent by Putin out of the pockets of Russian taxpayers on the war with the foreign neighboring country in 2024. It's not actually crazy news. That's a different category. That's scary news. Not enough statistics for you? Get some more. 39% of state budget of Russian Federation in 2024 will go to the articles of national defense and national security. Read military-industrial complex spendings to produce more weapons to kill more Ukrainians. Did you understand what I just say? The most peaceful country in the world, that's what we've been told over and over again, will spend almost 40% of all the money it'll have in 2024 for war and murder. If it's not enough for you, get some more statistics. Just like I said, in 2024, Russia's defense spending will amount to 11 trillion rubles, 40% of the budget. This is 7 times more than will be allocated from the state budget for education or healthcare. 7 times more. No need for economic development in Russia, no need for new infrastructure, no need improving healthcare, no need for better education. The empire needs to expand. Enough of this boring statistics for you. When Putin made the decision to attack Ukraine and kill the Ukrainians, and I remind you, he took personal responsibility for that. He justified the decision by saying Russia wants to move NATO troops away from Russian borders. Well, let me show you something interesting. This is NATO's F-35 fighter landing and taking off in Finland, a new member of NATO. It's happening right now, some 200 kilometers away from St. Petersburg. Nice job for moving NATO away from Russian borders. And by the way, Finland, congratulations, you're in good hands now. Moving on. And our star newsmaker is back to the stage. Who's that? Well, Russia's president, of course. Vladimir Putin raised the salaries last week. Well, it's always good news. I like hearing that people getting paid more. Who are the lucky ones? Dmitry Medvedev, top siloviki, the heads of those Russian government agencies that can use violence against regular people, Russian senators, and Vladimir Putin. Putin raised salary to Putin. And the rest 140 plus millions of Russians? Nah, they must be already swimming in money, no raise needed. Another news from the prime newsmaker. This week, Vladimir Putin was very surprised and concerned that gasoline prices in Russia continued to rise. Moreover, They jumped overnight sharply, and he seemed puzzled. Let me quote Vladimir Putin, "We did everything to stop them from rising, and they keep on rising. What's going on?"
А вот за вчерашний день, в рознице литр бензина АИ-92 51,6 рубля. Значит, до 21-го был 49,7. То есть цена-то растет в рознице. Меры приняты, а цены растут.
Непорядок. Anordnung. Saustall. Yes, Vladimir. That's the country you built. Anordnung and Saustall country. It's your result. It's your fault. And if you want to learn why gas prices keep on climbing, just come back this week and watch my stream. Sometimes in a few days, I'll explain in very simple terms that even you, Vlad, you'll understand. Saustall. I have one little question for you, Vladimir. If you don't understand why gasoline prices are going up, why did you raise yourself the salary? For what? For not understanding simple things? Fix something first, or at least learn something first, and only then raise yourself salary. If you worked for me in my company and couldn't answer me for the questions in your area of competence and expertise, I would fire you instead of raising your salary. But again, what do I know? I'm just a small guy, just a small Russian taxpayer, along with other 140 million taxpayers paying your salary, and your salary increases. Oh yeah, it does work for me after all. That's a thought. And that's it for the crazy news update for today. Right now, I suggest you check another video I made documenting how I was leaving Russia forever. The link is right here.